With us this morning is Argus Research's Director of Financial Institutions, Stephen Biggar. Stephen, welcome back. Good to see you again.
Hi, Carl.
We've tried to address this with a lot of the CEOs in the space. Their response tends to be something like, well, when there's non-performance, we shut down the credit, but it is reactive, it's not proactive. Can you talk about where you see the default risk lying right now?
Well, sure. I think, the problem might be just in the rapid growth, number one. So, there's an element of in credit in particular about know your customer. And I think that's where some of these buy now, pay later platforms are a little bit lax, right? They do soft credit checks over hard credit checks. So what that doesn't give them the full picture if someone gets into distress and all of a sudden starts to take on more and more of a debt burden. That will be problematic when the music stops and the defaults start coming due. I think there's a complicated problem here too, as well, Carl, that the consumers across the landscape are not maybe well educated on buy now, pay later about just the pure number of different programs there are, and there's just no homogeneity between the programs. Some will charge interest, some will not. There's different pay periods. Some are automatic withdrawal and deduction. Some will hurt your credit if you don't pay at the end of the cycle. So there's a lot of nuances here.
Have you been able to sort of distill the names in your universe down to a collection of companies where at least loss provision is a sort of safety in play right now?
Well, not really. We don't get a good picture of that, actually. We do get a picture of transaction losses, loan losses, and those have been creeping up, but not nearly to the extent that the rapid growth that we've seen in transaction payment volumes and loan growth. So it's definitely not a problem right now, and similar really to what we've seen for banks through this last downturn is that the credit quality never really deteriorated. In a very unusual way, it actually improved. We think because a lot of the government programs, the unemployment, the special issuance checks, and so forth. So consumers really, rode through this downturn with good repaying capabilities. But the opportunity for buy now and don't pay later, I think is we just haven't seen and probably won't see until the next larger credit downturn.
So, Stephen, why is this any different from what happens with credit cards in financial cycles? Is it that you think these buy now, pay later companies aren't protected enough to the downside by charging more interest and late fees, or is it that you think these buy now, pay later companies aren't well capitalized enough?
No, I think they're capitalized enough. The problem is they don't have the same set asides. They don't operate like banks. If they don't set aside enough to cover these loan losses, there's always some percentage, and that's really where, when you do know your customer, you can kind of you see those payment trends. You can see them coming generally in advance, particularly with the hard credit checks, and that's what they're missing at this point. So I think they have to keep an eye on the rapid growth. They've got to be sort of do that in stages and not let it run too rampant. Right now, Square actually had a very good presentation with their Afterpay acquisition. They talked about the 10 trillion market for global spending and trying to get buy now, pay later to about 2% of that. So I think that's a good goal. You don't want to grow this area too fast and faster than you can see those defaults rising. So I don't think it's a question of capitalization as much as what happens when the next shoe drops. And if those losses do accelerate, it will. These companies are very profitable, so it will cut into profits. It's unlikely to raise red flags in terms of capital.